All right. I don't know the recording is in progress without you. Okay. Super weird. I guess Windows doesn't want me to do this. So wild. All right. Well, welcome to the Theory of Everything experience. This is a documentation or documentary, whatever, of me starting a or observing the start of a universe. Sounds real dumb, but that's kind of what it is. Um, Fuck you, Samsung. So, really, really loud. Why is everything up? Okay, is that better? Yeah, probably. So I learned how to use OBS, kind of. So now it's not just me. Uh, we got a little visual action. This is Mirror. This is my mushroom-induced retarded monkey. Um, that's we'll get into that later. Um, as you can see, we're in a mushroom-styled background. Uh, it's all kind of part of the experience. Um, when I do this in my head, it is a much better experience for everybody. So know that when we do that, uh, when it happens inside my system, is much better than what I'm able to produce into your observable system. Um, the the idea of or the vision of what I want to happen is for an idea for something to go outside of its system, it needs to be very prevalent inside of the system that it is. So like when you have an idea that you internally feel is correct, um, an opinion, a thought, a business, or whatever. If you don't know how to articulate it to the people around you, uh, they label you. It makes them more comfortable to call you crazy. Um, and if I only knew what I was able to tell people and nothing else, I would think that I'm insane. Um, it is the things that I think are mm, ambitious, I guess is a word. Some people will say will have other words for it, uh, but ambitious is the word that I want to use. Um, so last time I was on here, I gave a very what turned out to be emotional response or apology, acknowledgement of wrongdoing, whatever you want to call it, and and I started crying in the middle of it, and I was thinking to myself, this should probably be something I'm embarrassed by. Um, but then I think about it, and I'm like, what is there really to be embarrassed by? Embarrassment is just my own disappointment in not being able to communicate the experience that I'm having. Um, so this is very unscripted, and it's legitimately the experience of what's going on in my head, in my inside of me, being shown to potentially no one, but also potentially everyone in the future. Um, so like this is what's happened in my moment, in my reality, and at some point it will overlap with somebody else's reality where you'll see this point in my reality, but I'll be at a different point in my reality, but it'll be the same point. It'll be our same point. And and to know that you're starting from this point, when we're at that point, we have all of this distance of time that has looped to where we've intersected, um, and that's fascinating to me. I wonder if anybody, like, do we even take that into consideration when we're receiving things from the internet and like putting things out there, like the moment that people see it, uh, it's that moment for them, but there's been so many other minute changes in the way our energy flows between when you're introduced to this and I'm made aware of you being introduced to it. Sorry, that's gonna happen. Um, when I'm left unsupervised, I'm gonna go down rants. Um, but yeah, I did cry, and like I did think about the reason as to what that was. Obviously, it was messy, but then I realized what I went through, like a progression. Uh, it's not. I think of everything in systems. Okay, so a system is two counterbalances and indifference. So everything is binary, but it's binary with the influence of all of the other binary systems, and that can expand as big or as small as you want it to be. So a person system is a human mammal system. So all of the things that make the machine of the body go, uh, all of the BIOS of the brain. I think that's what it's called in a computer, like that, the motherboard that has like, hey, this is how shit turns on, this is how the fan turns on. Nothing that runs like any of the programs. It runs the machine so it doesn't overheat and shit, right? So every system has your BIOS or your nucleus, because it's this, the way that I think of it is more of a ball than a circle. So like the circle, if you look at the circle, you don't see all of uh, the vastness of how big it gets. So you have your core, which is going to be the brain. Then you have the body, and that makes up the person. And then you have the consciousness, which, for all intents and purposes, is going to be, it's going to be your personality. But I think that it might be like what people consider a god. So you have your consciousness, your body, put together, you make a purpose. You make a person, um, or you make a human. To make a purpose, I did that wrong. The human is just what makes you run. A person is the consciousness and the body. Um, so that's what makes a human or a person, whatever. I need to figure that out. But the system that you're observing, like what you're seeing here, is my person and my purpose, right? So that's what makes up, that's whatever we're presenting to people outside of our head. Um, so my purpose is to make it so everybody can live like they have a rich girlfriend. And to do that, essentially what I would have to do is create a third option to society. Right now, you have the counterbalances of society are government and competition. And I think they're spreading further and further apart. And by doing that, they're kind of coming back, coming together as one big nonsense. Um, and if we continue going the way that we're going, it's either going to expand so far that the pressure of the indifference isn't going to be able to contain it, or it's going to come together and make one new system, and the indifference parts are no longer going to be connected. So it's either going, yeah, so it's either going to engulf everything or it's going to collapse and we're all going to have to start all over. So I was, I wake up early in the morning and drive for a ride share. Um, it's interesting to talk to people. It's interesting to meet people. It's interesting when people are open to crazy conversations. Crazy is not the right term, but like actual conversations instead of like, hey, how's the weather like, or um, did you watch the game yesterday? All good conversations, but these are more interesting because there's a little more passion involved. Um, and I had two very, two valued experiences, I guess. These these will resonate for a while. Um, the first one was I would dropped off a guy. We were talking, um, and we've all had friends that you haven't seen for years, haven't talked to each other, and you'll run into each other somewhere, or for whatever reason, your paths cross, and you pick up like nothing's happened, right? Like you can still be who you are in that moment, and they remember you at a previous moment. I mean, there's been so much distance in between, um, but whatever system of your social structure, they always seem to pick up. And like this was one of those moments with somebody that I've never met before. So like the conversation, the like whatever, um, uh, whatever the vibe, like that energy, that wavelength, um, whatever the experiences that we're missing in all of the science and math, um, vibrated the right frequency, and it was just like super chill and meaningful for whatever that means. Um, and the interesting part was like they chose to took interest in this, which is why I'm doing this today. As I guess there's less like on my Substack, I wrote a thing about I'm just a particle, like insinuating like this is me being conscious of me, like this is this third place idea aware of itself, and that it's alone, right? And that was I wrote that, um, and like tagged all of the people I thought might be intrigued by it, I guess. Um, and if you're aware you're alone, there's really no motivation to continue in the system that you're alone in. And that's kind of what this is, um, which is interesting because now this one. So this is a fucked up thing to say. If you're anyone of a sane person, which I am, no, maybe I'm not. I think I am. Like I'm a functioning sane person. Um, Kind of like you're a functioning alcoholic or a functioning pothead. Like I'm a functional insane person. Uh, I use insane because, and I've said this before, and you'll notice that this is all like we joke that this is a simulation, and we think that the simulation is someone else is in charge. And maybe they are, maybe they aren't, maybe they're like the atmosphere, how they just apply gentle pressure, what seems like gentle pressure to the things on its hard surface, but it's also a uh, detrimental. It destroys everything. Well, not everything, but like it has a. It's hard to become a part of the system of without. It's hard to be an outsider and become a part of the system. Like if you think about how our atmosphere basically destroys everything that comes into it before it reaches the surface to do any like extreme damage. And occasionally there are like the what is it, comet and asteroid? I don't fucking know what it's called. But like for the most part, all systems are protected by this thing we're unaware of. If you think about like if you believe what they taught me in school that humans were around for hundreds of thousands of years and only recently discovered that like air was a thing. Like we didn't we for how long did we not even take in consideration uh air in our observation, right? Like it's a relatively new thing, but we don't realize that that's the indifference of the earth system. Like it doesn't care what we do. It's going to take care of itself, and we're just here because it didn't interfere with it taking care of itself. um, and that's kind of what we run into with how we've allowed everything to evolve since money was introduced to society. Um, we've been very people, like the masses, like your average Joe, um, and Jane, I guess what your normal person doesn't give a fuck about 99% of the shit that is going on in the world. Like we're told that we're supposed to care, and that's a relatively new thing. Um, but like, if your only action is talking, are you really taking action? You only talk when you need or you want or the desired outcome is for other people to take action on your behalf. Like the only reason I'm talking into this microphone is because there is no option that I see in achieving my purpose without other people taking action. So I have to present an idea that people are interested in taking action on. And if it was 2,000 years ago, I would realize that we're all talking to each other on some network, kind of like how we're all talking to each other on this network. And I would find a handful of people that agreed with the ideas that I was presenting and try to get other people to start and take action to achieve the vision in my head that I got through sitting still and figuring out what I do when I do nothing. So if you take that analogy where there's one voice and only one person can hear it, which is me hearing the voice of creating this system, and I recruit a handful of people to start be my disciples and go and spread the word to have a bunch of other people take action. Does that, this is the fucked up of thing, does that make me Jesus and I'm talking to God? And since I think God is just the collection of all consciousness, that I'm talking to all consciousness, and I'm just trying to gather all of the like-minded consciousnesses into an area in this system. So Miriam is my mushroom induced retarded monkey. And the reason why I use that is if you look at nature and you look at other animals, pack animals, and the way that they live, if you slow down the pack, they don't they don't wait for you. Um, the leader of the pack is in charge of being that atmosphere of of the of the pack. So if they need to move to protect themselves, they're going to leave the slow behind. And if you look at the word retarded, it just means to be slow in science. Um, so what I heard this somewhere, probably some Rogan clip, um, but I like it. It sounds cool, and I think it might be true. Um, so I think what happened was like I don't know how monkeys lives, so I don't. Just so everybody knows that everything that I say is based on my reality, which a lot of times is going to be experiences that I made up in my head. And this is one of those times for sure. Um, but what I think happened was like a pack of monkeys they traveled. I don't know why. Like, why the fuck would monkey travels? And they were traveling, and the retarded monkeys on the outside of the pack, they got lost. And normally they would die because they wouldn't be able to protect themselves. Um, but through luck, evolution, whatever the case may be, um, one of them found like mushrooms or whatever. Uh, I do think I looked up that like magic, like the psilocybin mushrooms grow in like animal shit or something, which makes truly interesting. And I want to believe that like that's how like weed and psilocybin and ayahuasca and all of these like consciousness uh, altering drugs work. Um, I did write a description for this, and I'm fucking not sticking to it at all. Um, yeah, I think how those work is like I want them to work on like some. I'm big on vibration. I think like vibration, frequency, whatever that is the key to existence. Like the reason why existence is here is due to some frequency, resonant frequency. I can't get my grok to work, so I don't know what that's the right term, but like I do think like that's like common the interacting wavelengths is all we are, and I think that's why that's why we don't need the internet. But uh, yeah, I think that I think that if we hadn't if we haven't been hadn't been separated, that we would have already been able to achieve nonverbal communication, telekinesis or whatever. I don't know what the word of it is, but I do think that we are able. It's inevitable that if you spend enough time with somebody that you're able to quote unquote read their mind, right? Like it's not really reading their mind. It's just understanding the simulation and having enough information to make the correct decision. Like I think the simulation is inside of us and we think that it's outside. Like my simulation is every day I'm trying to make the correct decision to help everybody live like they have a rich girlfriend. And since I don't know the correct way to do that, I wake up and do what I think is the right thing. And every day I wake up and try like the first thing I say to myself when I wake up every morning, it's it's the binary choices, right? The first question is I'm going to move. Am I going to move? Am I going to make an attempt to move closer to my purpose? Yes or no? If it's yes, then I have to decide what is going to move me closer to my purpose. And today was not a day that I thought I would be doing this, but here we are. Um, oh yeah, fuck. So last time I did this, I I cried and I thought about it for a while as to like why I would do that. And the reason was there was a it was like an internal fight with my personalities, and I think that's it was like a big bang. It was a big bang of the universe creation. So I think the Big Bang theory is incorrect. Uh, I think the Big Bang was not the start of the universe. I think the Big Bang was the first collision between what doesn't even necessarily have to be the first, but it was a collision between parts of the spinning universe. So if you look at anything, they spin around each other, right? Like they always have this yin and yang look to it, where there's like a long tail and a fat thing, but it's got the whole of the black. The fish in the eye, I think, is what Ellen Watt says. Um, and ultimately, like they're made up of two opposite things, right? Like so, government and competition, they are a universe that's swirling around each other like this, like I don't even know how to do it, right? They're swirling around each other. The core of them is swirling around each other. And then they have all the little things that are around them. And they're always gonna follow. Like if like gravity is real, they're always gonna follow each other. Eventually it's inevitable that two of those things are gonna hit into each other. And I think that's what the Big Bang was like we're part of like two of those making a collision. And in the process of me trying to get the thought out of my head system and out verbally into this system, there are things colliding in my brain. And when they collide, the energy from those collisions that are seen as an explosion or maybe a sun, um, the energy has to go somewhere. And since I can't create a planet or another thought, it comes out as me crying. Um, this is probably part of the fight or flight response. Um, but if there's nowhere to run and you can't swing, what do you do? Apparently, I cry. So I thought about that for a while, and I remembered the speech that Jimmy V gave. Oh shit. Yeah, this one. Let me stop this. Yeah, we're here. All right. I thought I had this right, but I don't. All right. So, fuck that up. But so I remember this Jim Valvano speech. This is a speech that I love this speech. I was It was probably the only time I've ever watched the Epsies, except I fucking can't remember his name. Other side of the pillow guy, awesome, awesome Sports Center anchor. Uh, Great, seemed like a great human. Great speech. But here's what he said. All right, so I thought about that. I was like, hey, I just moved myself to tears. That's that's a great day. And I thought about what I was saying, and uh-oh, oh, why is this not letting me go? So I thought I moved myself to tears. Uh, was a great thing. Let's see if this is still a thing. But then the Bills game happened. Nope, it's still there. We go. All right. So let's. So then the Bills game with the Ravens happened, and that kid. What is happening? Well, that's kind of annoying. All right. Let's see if I can do this. Worked the other day. But I'll get off my screen now. Um, all right. So then there was the Bills game. In the Bills game, this kid started pushing Jackson, the quarterback, and then Jackson shoved him back. And he went on local TV, local news, with a neck brace on, and made And then that happened. And I was like, fuck. Um, that probably is a bad look. But I thought about it. Like you could choose however you want to feel about whatever you want to feel, right? Like I could be embarrassed by it. Not. I mean, it was a genuine emotion that I was having about it was a genuine experience that I was having. And I'm sure that it was something that that kid was having too. Um, but it's really weird how I don't think you should, like, should you feel upset by that? I don't know. But I took it, but what I did say during that was, I thought I was coaching a game that hasn't been invented for a team that doesn't exist to people that don't know I exist. And that's what I kind of feel like at this particular moment. Um, and that leads us to the second ride that was intriguing to me. Um, Guy was a data scientist, data engineer. I don't know. He worked in AI, and he said some things that I agree with. Where like we are headed towards a system collapse where traditional unemployment rates are going to be ridiculous. Um, and AI is going to be able to do everything. But is that, and he thinks that it's inevitable. Like it's always, there's no chance that it never occurs. Um, and I agree that AI is going to be a tool that is going to be used. Um, Probably poorly by the government and competition systems. Um, but I don't think that that's the way that it has to go. Um, I do think that there are people who are totally not interested in AI. There are people who are interested as using it as a tool, and those people and there are people who are interested in developing it responsibly. Responsibly is a relative term. Responsible is depending on the perception that you're looking at it. I mean, I'm sure the people that are developing it now and then having reports leaked that we need to shut it down, they probably thought that they were doing it responsibly, but you don't know what you don't know, right? Um, but he said something. He's like, they don't have any idea how things are going to work after everything's collapsed. And I laughed. And like I agree that what I'm proposing sounds like a utopian solution, um, but it's only utopian solution for the people who live inside the confines of the utopian system, right? Um, um, like some of the artistic replications of such a system are not far off from the system that I'm thinking of and are easily created by the system. But the key to the system, to creating a system, is to acknowledge the atmosphere, to acknowledge the indifference. Like, like NFL football, that's the impetus of the argument that we have. Like, they seem to be either indifferent to the indifference. So now you've uh, created a separation between your atmosphere and your system. So now it's only a matter of time you have to be self-sufficient. You need to be able to function. You need to have the indifference inside the system. So players are going to start paying themselves, or like if advertisers stop, if the people stop paying advertisers and paying for television, how how do you make $50 million a year playing football? Right? Like, I watched Patch Adams yesterday. Great movie. I think it might be my spirit animal. I might be Patch Adams and Tyler Durden. More Patch Adams than Tyler Durden, but definitely definitely some Tyler Durden. Um, the other one I like is the Joker Buddha. No, that one doesn't work. I like Alan Watts, Stephen Hawking, and the Joker. Uh, that's another fun one. So yeah, that we're forgetting about the subtle interactions of the indifferent, and as there's more and more indifference because the wealth is too much. Like, if you're asking $500, $600 to get NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube, and then you're telling me I need to pay $200 for the internet, and I have to get a special TV to do it. It's it could be a lot of money to make that happen. Um, and as everything else gets more expensive, like, if you're taking away jobs that provide value, that's what I think that's what I think the the issue that we have today is that there is a group of people who only care about value, and there's a group of people who only care about wealth, and there are a lot of people that are close to either center. So they're like more value oriented, where it's not so much how much it costs, it's what am I going to get out of it, right? Like, I will pay I will pay $5 for someone to never count change to me. Like, I buy my weed, and I bring a $20 bill. It's usually like 14 to $18. I'm a cheap date. I give that to the guy or girl behind the counter, and I say, "You just need to give me that bag with the receipt so I can leave." I do that every time, and I will. I do it everywhere. I have to pay cash. I will just give them the nearest, lowest bill way I can get there and just tell them to keep the rest because it's depressing to watch people count change. And it's the $5 doesn't like it's valuable to me, uh, but not as much as like me being able to go home quicker and smoke a joint. There's also the value that I don't see, right? Like I don't know what if this is a an excessive story, but what if like somebody in that store needs needs all the money they can get and like that dollar is just a little bit more money, or the person behind the counter is having a shitty day and I just gave them a $5 tip, like that might make their day a little bit better, so other people behind them have a better experience. And if that costs $5, like that's worth it to me, to not have to have my experience impeded and the potential to make others experience better is worth $5. And like the AI guy was kept talking about optimizing, but who are you optimizing? Like, what are we optimizing for? It seems like we've forgotten to optimize the experience for wealth. And I think there is a large portion of us who realize this, and we're kind of stuck as the competition and the government either come closer together or further apart. Doesn't matter which side you're in. If they become one entity and you're on the outside, you're either going to get sucked into that black hole or shot off in the other direction. And if they end up either exploding or going off to where we're no longer aware of them, you're going to be floating out in the middle of nowhere like the particle. And I think I think we all agree that they're going to collapse, um, or people are going to collapse, right? Like that's I guess that's the other system that collapses and gets absorbed into it. Like those are the two options I gave anyway. Um, but I think there's I don't know what it's called. There's a quad something, but basically, if you look at a field, there's usually north and south. And for the stablest of systems that we're aware of, you have a north and south and an east and west. And right now we only have north south or east west. And I think we need, due to the size of the system that we're in right now, we need two other systems. And I think those systems are information and art. And conveniently, they sit opposite each other on the government competition axes if you're making a diagram. So my idea is to create a third place because the government system is pretty much its own system. The competition system is pretty much its own system. And those are all intertwining. Um, Now we need to start identifying and providing the art and all of the information. So to do that, you need to crumble a lot of other systems. And when you're thinking about creating a universe to the degree that Like this is I don't seriously ask this question, but like it does seem like to say this, you're almost have to be looking from a godlike perspective. So does that like I mean it would make sense though, because I think we're all God. I think God is just the collective consciousness, and I was the one that I don't think I'm the only one that thinks this. I don't think I'm the only one saying this. I'm probably not the only one saying this into this universe, this internet universe. I mean, that's this internet system. I mean, it's the same as every other system. We just you collect everybody and then bring it into the reality, shared reality, or what I call the experience. And fuck. What was I saying? Mm, fuck. Sometimes I go spiraling out of control. The three body problem, right? The three body problem isn't really a problem. It is a reality. Like there is no problem without a solution. If you create a solution, you create a problem. So if you can't solve it, it's just reality. And if you're looking for a solution for a problem that you're having, and then thinking that it's of value to people that don't have that problem, you're just creating a problem for other people. Like, isn't that how we have all this shit? Like, this is a bad example because I think it's actually fucking awesome, but like, I never thought that I ever fucking needed a robot vacuum. Like, I thought the rooms were clean. We mop them up, sweep them up every once in a while. But goddamn, my floors are fucking dirty and they get dirty super quick. So somebody invented a robot vacuum. It's fucking awesome. They only work for like 18 months, but those 18 months, my fucking floors were super clean. I never even knew the problem until we bought the robot vacuum. So, like, now it's another $1,800 for a fucking robot vacuum. Did it provide $1,800 worth of value? I mean, maybe the floors were cleaner. Did I get more joy? I did. And mind you, I didn't pay for the robot vacuum. My rich girlfriend at the time, she paid for it, which is why I think my purpose is to make it so everybody can live like they have a little rich girlfriend, because I don't even think rich girlfriends understand how to have rich girlfriend relationships. Um, like that's how fucked up our value wealth exchanges. Um, since I brought it up, like she is my ex girlfriend. She broke up with me in February because she didn't want to take care of me when the entire relationship was she wanted to be in charge and I didn't want to be in charge. So we had a discussion. I'm like, I have no desire to be rich. I have no desire to do, I'm not going to fucking run around in an office all the time. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it because I'm getting something out of it. I was a CrossFit coach. I tried to open a CrossFit gym in 2019, failed miserably. I was coach for many other places, was fired from a job that Grok lies about not having a membership to. I will guarantee you that he has a membership, even if he doesn't have a relative that's served. Um, I don't know for a fact, but I would leave very little of my wealth not invested. I put up pretty much everything I'm worth on saying that he has an account, or a membership, or whatever you want to call it. But they fired me, um, and rather than get another job, I started to drive for a ride share. Um, then the guy that I was living with decided to move in with his girlfriend and her three dogs, and they were all going to move into the condo that I was renting. So I moved out of there. Uh, couldn't show enough responsibility to get my own place. So I just started living in the gym that I coached at, and I coached there. And then I met my girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, and we were together for 7 years. And she broke up with me, or whatever it was called. Whatever it was, at the end of the day, we still live together. And it's not weird for us, at least not me. Um, I think we have illusions of the phases of systems. Like, all systems have phases, right? Like, every system has four phases. Like, there are four phases to every system. um, Society system is made up of competition, government, and art. And its atmosphere is protection. It's the thing that keeps the the shit that doesn't need to be in there, and destroys it before it can get to anything that means anything. And it is the way in which the systems inside the system can observe things outside the system, right? Like, that's how society works. And and the reason why our system is going to fail is because the information isn't available to protect everything. And that's why you need information and art. The reason why I say art, is because that is where all of the creation happens, right? Like, if you're, depending on where you're competing, right? Like, if you ask, I bet if I asked Taylor Swift, I don't know, like, who's the biggest fucking actress? Like, you ask any of these, Ryan Reynolds, maybe, uh, I'd love to know, like, a comic who just only does Dave Chappelle. I think he might be one of them. Like, if you ask those people, these true geniuses in bringing you into an experience, right? Like, stories of Taylor Swift on stage for 3 hours. Fans, she re-recorded her albums so her fans could so she could own her music, and her fans bought it. Like she just like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and they're like, cool. Let me fucking give you $20 a CD or whatever the fuck it is. I don't even know how you buy music. My Spotify deal and just fucking play it off of there. Um, but like obviously her art connects to someone, a lot of someone's, and like her ability to like bring people into her experience is the reason why she's so great. Um, I imagine. Like I don't. If you played me her song, I probably would know the song, but I wouldn't be able to tell you like a name of anything she sings, if that makes sense. Like I obviously have crossed path with her music. I don't live in a hole, but like she so I joke that I'm too good to be good, but not good enough to be great. So I operate in between two systems, which makes puts me on outer orbits of two systems. Um, and I think Taylor Swift and these people are too great to be great, but not great enough to be, or maybe the they're how maybe they're both the atmosphere and the core. They're the Klein bottle. Like they're where you go from one to the other. They're where people becomes a person, and they're able. That's why there's so few of them, and that's why they're so valued. Like I think that the experience that the people at a Taylor Swift concert when they leave, there's probably at least 60 to 70% of them are neutral or glad they had that experience. Like they're either like, yeah, it was X amount of dollars. I wouldn't have gone if Y didn't want to go, but it was a good time. Right? Like that's kind of the low end of that percentage. And then there's probably people that are like, I had a terrible time. I will never go to another concert with you again because you have a shitty taste in music. And there are people who are like, I can't believe I spent this money. This is a horrible idea. Like, why did people say that she's so good? Um, but I think like when you get into that 60, 70% success rate with that volume of people, like you're different. There's something different about your perspective on the action. Like where that's what makes them special is because they are able to be that person and do it inside of that people system. That's why I think that's where you run into a problem, right? Like Taylor Swift is a great example of how the people person Klein bottle works. Right? Like Taylor Swift shows enough of herself as a person through whatever media or outlet or whatever you want to call it, whatever way you're able to consume it, she provides enough of that person so that a lot of the people feel like they know each other. As Eminem says, the stands, right? Like that's that's what that is. And there's no when you're on the edge of that climb bottle, you're flirting with that entering, exiting an atmosphere. You're going from your like those artists that do this, like anybody who presents themselves is going from, and that's what this is for me. It's like I'm taking something from my person system and trying to put it into the people system. And the people system is made up by a billion different or 8 billion different persons or people. I'm a person. Persons. There you go. And like that's we're trying to break through our atmosphere, which is what the crying was for me. And now I'm trying to figure out a way to break your atmosphere the way that Taylor Swift and Dave Chappelle and um, Tom Brady and Jorge Asado. Uh, yeah, I don't fucking know his name. The Dodger guys who fucking pitches and hits and plays in the field and does everything. Um, like that's all of that's art. Like it's and they're able to like connect with people. Like that's what teams are, right? Like we're fans of teams because we end up being that atmosphere, like that extra energy, that gentle, sometimes not so gentle um, push on it. And I think that's what you run into when you have the other side of that whole there's the love, that interaction. And whenever there's a positive emotion, whenever you have like we only there's only one emotional response, and that's disappointment, right? Like the only thing you feel about anything is disappointment. And then once you realize you're disappointed, you're never going to accept responsibility. So we look for something else to blame. And depending on your emotional response is you realizing the results of your past prediction of the present, right? Like you had some feeling of how this was going to go. If it goes the way you think, you don't even think you just keep moving forward, like you keep going. There is no action without a reaction. So if there's no reaction, you just keep going with your action, right? And that's what like your Dave Chappelle's, Taylor Swift's. I'm not saying that there was no reaction where there had to go back and forth. There certainly was. Like there's certainly that simulation of it where you didn't get a reaction to make you stop. But if you got a reaction, you said fuck it and you just did it a different way, went around like water. You go under, around, over, through. Those are your those are usually the options in that order. I think I crashed. Yep. That's awesome. All right. Well, that's cool, yo. fairly confident that someone's listening to all my devices. Like I randomly talk in my car, and like Google starts going like, "Hey, how can I help you?" And, like didn't say any of that. Um, so when you're moving between the people system and the person system, and you do it in a positive way, it just becomes like a cyclone. It becomes its own little power source. Like it generates and keeps going. It's that magnetism. It becomes its own little system. Like Taylor Swift is its own little universe, right? Like she goes to a Chiefs game and viewership is like up 40% or some stupid shit like that. Um, but when you do it where, like, if you think of Taylor Swift, I don't know if anybody like hates her for her art. Like, I think there probably are some, but they're very few, very few. If there's any anger towards her, like me, uh, mine is I don't give a fuck who any of the players are fucking. I came here to watch a football game, and if you're gonna charge me and you're gonna make me watch ads, I definitely don't want to fucking see who's in the stand. It doesn't matter who it is. That's not a Taylor Swift specific thing, but there was definitely a time where I wanted the Chiefs to trade Travis Kelsey just so I wouldn't have to see Taylor Swift at a football game. Um, no ill will toward Taylor Swift. I just didn't like she was having a negative experience at my football experience or negative influence on my football experience. Um, but like as far as her art goes, when she's passing between the person to the people, people are kind of either indifferent to it, like I don't listen to that kind of music, so my opinion is all that music sucks, or I don't know what that music is. Like those people exist, obviously. Um, there might be some people who are like actively anti, but like I said, I think that's a very small portion. But you're always going to have those. You're never going to get rid of them. If you do, would be concerned. Um, then you have the people that like her, like if they come upon it in passing, if it's on the radio or on somebody they hear when they're in the mall or whatever, like they'll enjoy the experience or whatever. And then you have the people that are obsessed with it. And there's a lot of people that are obsessed with it. When you get into people like Charlie Kirk and Louder with Crowder and Joe Rogan and all of these podcasters, myself included, um, I guess. I guess I guess me a little bit. Like I'm not influential in any way, shape, or form, but like those people when they're going from the people. Now I don't feel like any of the people that I mentioned, Louder with Crowder, Charlie Kirk, Joe Rogan. I think all of them are just putting on a performance. Like they maybe less. Yeah, now Joe Rogan definitely. I think he is, but before maybe not so much. And that may have to be based on the size of the Joe Rogan system. Like I don't know. I don't know if I had 3 million people watching me and a large roided out man like documenting his desire to come to your place and destroy you, I feel like I would probably not want to project my entire self out there either. But like he's also not presenting himself as a authority on things. Um, the other people, they're like legitimately going. Like I don't know. The only way I've interacted with any of these people is through whatever I've observed on YouTube. So whatever the algorithm thought I should see. And the pretense that these discussions that they put out are of a debate on a sensitive topic, um, whether it's zeitgeist, is that what we call it? Whatever. If it's like in the know of pop culture, um, and it has polarizing opinion, they seem to be interested in it, and to their credit, they are interested in talking to people who have a different point of view. Now, in creating a universe, you have to create everything in that universe. And Charlie Kirk seems to be being portrayed as a devout Christian or believes in the Lord Jesus Christ. Um, and thinks communism is a bad idea and thinks that um, universal basic income and social systems are bad. And he's going to a college campus where people are very passionate. And I don't know if I'd call it a debate. And I don't even know who to blame for the debate failure. Um, I don't think a debate can be won or lost. I think that I think that the format of debating or whatever we're calling debating has been hijacked, much like CNN, Fox, MSNBC has hijacked news, right? Like these debates are not debates. Nobody's trying to find a common ground to solve a problem. They're just trying to make the next great video that goes viral and makes them the most money. They're not trying to present any value. They're just trying to accumulate as much wealth as they can. And when you do that between the two systems, like there there needs to be a way for the systems to interact, right? Like I don't think anybody should be shot for something that they say ever. Like I think the reaction for the action is not correct. However, the only way how else how else does the system react, right? Like you're getting rich, you're living an extravagant lifestyle, by disputing a solution for, I'm going to say me because I'm talking on behalf of the people system. So everyone, or I'm going to pretend like I'm the godfather for a portion of the people system. Um, I joke about being God and being Jesus, but I also, it's got to happen to somebody, right? Like, is it, everybody says there needs to be a second coming? Like, that's in the Bible. It's going to come again. Do I think it's a second coming? No, I think Buddha and Mother Teresa and Alan Watt, and there's been a plethora of other people who didn't receive any recognition or desire for recognition, that were people acting on behalf, a person acting on behalf of the people system. We are a single dimension consciousness that sees in two's dimension. We live in a three-dimension experience. We sense in four dimensions, and we desire the approval of the fifth dimension, which is the accumulation of all of the first dimensions. Like, that's what that's what this is in my brain. That's what I, and I think at some point somebody, we were all in that third dimension and somebody was existing in the fourth dimension and realized there was a fifth dimension, and that's what religion is. And and that was needed to help us understand. But now we're to the point where I think there's an in it's no longer an insignificant of people that are relying on that safety net, that system, that we put that system either after the third dimension for the fourth dimension, or after the fourth dimension the fifth dimension. But it's a system that's not natural, and it's a system that's no longer needed. um, so when you're somebody like Charlie Kirk that are saying things that are, there is evidence on both sides, and your argument is not in discussing it, it's about giving your piece and being dismissive of anything that's alternate to it. um and there's no way for the system to correct it. It's going to find a way to correct it, I think. Hold on one second. I think that if Charlie Kirk could have been punched in the face, he wouldn't have been shot. That's what I think. Um, so how do we solve this problem, right? Like all of there's no problem without a solution. I hear all of these people talking about the problems that it caused and all the people reaction, but nobody's talking about how do we make it so this doesn't happen again, right? Like we're all upset about it. I'm not. I don't give a fuck. It didn't have an effect on me. Well, it did. It affected me because I was about to walk into a comedy club to fail miserably at a stand-up comedy show. Um, since I don't know, seventh grade, the thing that I don't know what grade. I remember it was high school or college. um, Either way, I was getting ready to do, must have been high school, because I was doing the Veterans Day recognition for the school district. And I was going to be standing in front of the entire small town that I grew up in and all the veterans of the area. There was like 1,000 people that were going to be there. Um, and I was a little bit nervous. And one of the people that are in charge was talking to me. And he's like, "Well, what's the worst thing that could happen?" And I'm like, "Well, I could fuck up a name and do something, or my pants could fall down, or whatever." Um, I had an example of whatever it was, and he just looked at me and said, "No, the worst thing that happened is somebody could pull out a gun and shoot you in the face." And somebody pulled out a gun and shot somebody in the face for something that they said. Um, so that was I mean, we said it jokingly, knowing that it was potential, but not thinking that it was, and for us to be reminded that it is an option. Should it make you? It's an interesting thing, right? Should it make you? Should it make you more reluctant to say the things that you're saying? Or should it make you be more aware of the impact of what you're saying? And you should be more conscious of this and allow a reaction to happen earlier, right? I do think do I think somebody gets shot in this manner in this climate? Unfortunately, I'm not shocked by it. Um, if you're honestly thinking about it, if all of what is said is true, where gun violence and like there's as many people killing each other people with guns. I mean, you'd almost have to be surprised that it doesn't happen more. Or maybe it does happen more and it didn't happen to anybody that mattered, so we don't care. Um, which is also true, right? Like, why are we why are we supposed to care about this? It doesn't affect my abilities to say anything. Um, I didn't know who he was. Didn't follow him on YouTube. Didn't know, like, he popped up every once in a while, and I scrolled by his name. Um, so I don't know anybody at Utah. I don't know anybody. I don't know, like literally don't know anybody in that universe or who's even an observer. Or let me rephrase that. I I am unaware that I even come in contact on a regular basis of anybody else who's aware of Charlie Kirk. And only in him getting shot am I aware of him and all the other people who are upset by it. Um, it's interesting because I watched Patch Adams yesterday, and he gets thrown in front of like the medical board or whatever for practicing medicine without a license. And he thinks that the biggest injustice is indifference. And I think in medicine there is. They say they call something like transference or whatever. We're not supposed to have transference on patients. Shouldn't care. Um, but he also says like, why does death have to be like death is inevitable. So why don't we treat it with some humility or humor or whatever, right? So if you take death out of it and you realize that yeah, death is a possibility. I mean, death is a possibility in every situation. Why shouldn't we try to enhance everybody's experience the best that we can? Like, but to do that, to be able to enhance somebody else's experience, you have to have your system, you as the human, and you with a purpose. Like those two things need to be taken care of. So I've created in my brain a system to do that that relies on art and information rather than government and competition. Now, those to have a society, a functioning society, you need to have all four of those things. Um, so the first, so that's what I've created and I am creating. It's called the third place. Starting the website. My plan is for the third place to be a owner operated conglomerate, I guess. Um, and anybody who wants to own it can own it for ownership is based on a monthly owner contribution. And if you make the contribution, you get to get all the perks of ownerships, which is making decisions, discounted services that the business has. Uh, you get to give your input and make it matter. Um, so all of those things are what we're trying to do. And I say we, and it's basically right now it's me and the voices in my head. Um, but things we need to create to make the system is first off, we need a blockchain. Um, so I need to, I think I ask somebody and we can create a blockchain on somebody else's infrastructure. I think you said it would be like $20,000. Um, and if we wanted to build it from scratch, which is my desire, is I think that we, given the status of where we're at in the world, we kind of need a reset. Um, so we have all of the we have all the trial runs, right? Like we can sit back and look out and see, yep, that works. No, that doesn't work. Um, and we can put them all together and try to make something different. But we need to make it in a way that doesn't necessarily negatively affect the current systems that we have. So we need to create a system that can operate within the systems that we have, which is why we need to create a company. The company is going to be the atmosphere. That's the buffer between the people and the outside system, which is the government and competition. The goal is then to find what value will our company have to the government competition system. And that's where the art comes in. So I've created I haven't created, but the idea is to create the art system under the NICCA, which is the Neutral Incorporation of Competitive Community Activities. And through this, create our own entertainment, right? Like I brought up the example of people are playing in the NFL right now, making $50 million a year, and people are celebrating, right? Like it makes no fucking sense to me. Um, like I get it, like we're happy the players are making money, but we're paying them, right? We're paying them, and Jerry Jones is getting rich off of it. So why don't we? If I'm paying for it already, if we're paying for it already, why don't we just fucking own our own? And then you can decide if your team, your league, your whatever wins or creates value that creates wealth, then you get some of that wealth. Like that I mean, trickle down economics works. It's gotta work in all of the directions. Like it only trickles in one system. It needs to trickle in all three systems. Um, wow. McAfee's detected 10 million scams in the last 30 days. Wow. Good for you, buddy. So that's so those are the two things that we need to create to make this go. Um, the third one, I want to buy an Icon 3D printer and start building houses and stadiums. Um, my vision is that we look at the map and create the most effective web of high speed trains to get across the nation. And you can pick the nation. So, I mean, I'm not tied to anyone in specific. I like America. It's the only one I know. But it has no loyalty to me. So I have no loyalty to it. I don't want to see anything bad happen to it. But I'm indifferent to its success or failure. I mean, that system has kicked me out 20 years ago and doesn't give a fuck that I don't contribute, and I don't give a fuck that it doesn't help me. So, and I know that everybody will have a take on whether or not that's true. Um, the go to a different country and see what you're doing thing, nobody knows what the experience would have been if I was put into a different area. Um, it might have been a much better experience. I have to tell you that having your fiance girlfriend killed in a drunk driving accident isn't a fantastic experience. Um, Being fired for a job for doing literally exactly what that company says is their purpose, which is doing everything they can for military families, um, is demoralizing. Um, Having to live in my car and my place in which I work because I'm unable to make enough wealth doing something that I get intense value for. Um, that's heartbreaking. But there is no problem without a solution, right? And there is no solution to that problem currently. Um, which is why I've created the which is why I'm doing this. Um, so I guess McAfee has eaten up all the memory on my system. Very interesting. So I guess we're done. So till next time, everybody, there is no action without reaction. So react often, react with purpose, and if possible, react kindly.